Well, we do have everybody back here. We were just admiring how timely everybody's been, our presenters, sticking to it. That's really incredible. So we appreciate all of you, for everyone listening in, all of your engagement, participation, questions, comments, everything. This makes the day pretty darn special. So appreciating all of you. I am going to, as just a little reminder in the chat, I'm going to put the link to our Google Drive, where all of these resources, the presentations, etc., have been getting dropped in. But as well, we'll make sure that this gets emailed out after everything's over for today. But just want to make sure that everyone has that. So, Laura?
I am just going to queue up Liz because she's our first presenter. What I wanted to do is just sort of let you know that this whole section is about the advancement of education and data science and AI, but not in the way that some people think of it. I mean, we really, what Liz is going to talk about is the 5 big ideas of AI. These are the big ideas that were being developed out of the University of Florida and Carnegie Mellon. And have been adopted as part of Liz's STEM outreach programs. These are guidelines for kindergartners through 12th graders. So this has been a 4-year effort to try to develop a way to advance artificial intelligence education. And so I'm going to kick it over to Liz, who has just rocking this. So take it away.
Thanks so much. Share my screen. All right. I'm going to set my timer. I'm really proud of myself for sticking to my time limits today, because anyone who knows me knows I love talking, especially about AI and STEM. So for the 5 big ideas in AI, I first want, before I forget, in the Google Drive that has been shared a few times, there is a huge, like 20-page document I dropped in there with links to activities and curriculum for K-12 educators. I don't want to say it's like a gold mine, but it is a gold mine. We try to add to it every time we go to conferences. So that is my plug for that resource. And so what I'm going to do is cover the 5 big ideas in AI. And I also want to take a briefish, to differentiate between AI and robotics, because this is one area for our AI and robotics programs that a lot of students and adults kind of get stuck in, like, what's the difference? Where do they intersect? And I did not put image credit for every single time I use these pictures. All image credit goes to AI for K-12. This is my blanket statement. I think this is recorded, so come after me. I gave my due diligence. So if you go to aifork12.org, you can find a lot of great resources. Everything I'm talking about comes from them. I did not come up with this. I had the pleasure to share it. And this image is probably one of the more popular ones. They have posters and digital resources available in a number of languages too. So for those of you that are in schools teaching bilingual learners, this is a great place to get those resources. And we'll talk about each of these big ideas, but the big takeaway and reason I wanted to share this slide specifically is, at the end of the day, I hope you and your learners realize that everything that we learn about AI centers around societal impact, whether it's positive or negative. We want learners to understand what they know and learn about AI has some kind of an impact on society. So the first thing, and I'm going to watch the chat, is robots versus AI. I'd like to just hear in the chat how many robots you see in this photo. Hopefully I'm not dating myself too much with some of these references, trying to cover like the spectrum of robots and AI. But I'm going to keep an eye on the chat for a hot second. It's 8. Cool. Love that. Awesome. A lot of different answers, which I love. All of them perfect. A little bit of a trick question. They're not the same, but I would define all of these as artificially intelligent robots. We'll circle back to this in a moment. We can talk about the good and bad, whether or not their societal impact is positive at a later point. But they're not the same, but they do intersect. They can coexist in the same space. And I like to use WALL-E as an example, mostly because most people have either seen this or had the pleasure of, one parent said they've watched it like 10 times with their kid and probably could read all the lines. But if you're not familiar with WALL-E, it's a great Pixar film. And the general concept is WALL-E has been left behind on Earth. The humans have crashed the planet, and WALL-E's job is just to continue to like the Sisyphusian task of picking up garbage. And eventually he discovers organic life and embarks on this whole movie of contacting humans to let them know they can come back. So robot, Wally's body is a robot. If he didn't have AI, we just looked at the robotic components of him, he could be programmed still and have functionality. So we could tell him to identify trash, to pick it up, where to deposit it. He might be limited in his ID capabilities, but the big takeaway here is the robotic parts is it can only do what we tell him. He can't learn. He is a robot. He does exactly what he is told to do. And if something breaks that, he's done. The AI doesn't need to have a robotic entity. It can be just the computer or the program behind it. But when we look at Wally, the AI component is that internal network, which helps him reason, perceive his environment, learn, and interact with humans. I won't spoil the plot, but there's that intersection later. So the artificial intelligent robot is when those come together, and it's as we know and love him, he can roam the planet, fall in love, all sorts of great things once we intersect those two. So that's the high level difference. Focusing on the big ideas and transitioning just to the AI. The first big idea is perception. So the big takeaway here is when we think about sensors in and of themselves are not artificial intelligence. A sensor becomes an AI unit, as it were, when it can extract meaning from what it's sensing. So robots use sensors. AI robots might also use sensors. They take it to the next level by extracting that meaning. I tell students to kind of think of it as the 5 senses on our own. So if I look outside and it's raining, I can feel that, I can touch it, and then I derive meaning of I need a rain jacket or I need to sprint to my car because I forgot my rain jacket. And self-driving cars is one area where we see perception being modeled a lot. Representation and reasoning. So anything that we interact with and see in the real world has to be represented in a way that AI can use it. So there's a lot of different tiers to what constitutes representation and reasoning, but this might include things like relationships. Going back to the self-driving car example, I'm a car, that's a stoplight. My relationship is I need to know what color the light is to understand what I should be doing. And that segues into the reasoning of how do I do it? Do I slow down? Do I slam on the brakes? One question and really good example I like to use is using the Zoom emojis. When you go to a yellow light, I'd be interested to know, do you blow through it? Let's do this, let's get through it. Or do you hit the brakes? Yellow to you means I need to slow down and stop. And I'm going to give a second to kind of see what people's thoughts are. Lynette, I really like your answer. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Yeah, so when I talk with students especially, I get a lot of party hats, but then we talk about exactly what Lynette, Lawrence, and others commented in the chat. It depends. So there's again that reasoning. If I'm 10 feet out of the intersection and I'm obviously going to clear it, I'm going to go. But if you're 2 intersections back and you're definitely not going to make it, do you still gun it? So there's kind of that, again, ambiguity that we as people are telling artificial intelligence systems what that relationship is and what they should be doing. Learning. So in short, computers can learn from data and grow. So we learned 2 + 2 = 4, hopefully when we were in like elementary schoolish. And now you kind of do that intuitively as part of higher level math, whether it's figuring out how to tip by using the tipping app on your phone because no one can do that math, or being able to do calculus if you're in a technical field. So again, you build on what you know and learn. We get a lot of questions about neural networks and machine learning, and I really like this image from IBM because they're all a part of machine learning and they're all a part of AI. They're just more specific subsets that get more and more specific to the application. Thank you for the person saying XKCD comics are appreciated. There's a few of them. If you hate them, I'm sorry. But again, getting back at neural networks are really a part of like how we think and function, but in the computerized form. Natural interaction. So it takes a lot of different types of knowledge for us just to interact with one another. And that knowledge extends to training artificially intelligent systems for how to interact with us. So this might be basic things such as different languages, understanding what language someone's talking to and being able to communicate back to them. But also understanding cultural norms. What situation am I in? What country am I in? What does this mean for me? Going back to the representation and reasoning, what do I do with it? Again, one of my favorite examples is you go like this to meet someone new. You're like, is it a handshake or a hug? And as they get closer, you're kind of figuring out, oh, okay, yeah, handshake. Or you have the awkward moment of like, oh, no. And so like all these different things are things we would want an AI system to ideally know how to handle. And then lastly, talking about societal impact, again, all of these things, either by themselves or in tandem, can impact society both in positive and negative ways. We won't get into this because it's a very long topic, but biases is really one of the big topics we talk a lot about. Facial detection systems. If you watch, I'm going to butcher her last name, Joy Buolami's video on how darker faces can't be recognized by facial recognition. Like what impacts does that have on the data sets and the applications? Me, I'm a dog lover. If I was planning to do data sets for a veterinary clinic, I by nature probably going to have a lot of great info on dogs and might not treat gerbils and cats as equally. Not intentionally, I just really like dogs. And that's a very simple example of what can compound largely when we talk about the societal impact. In that treasure trove of resources, there are a lot of different links. This one by far is my favorite on survivalofthebestfit.com. Would highly recommend going through it. It's really good, especially for high school learners who are trying to understand the impact. So same question, or same photo, new question. Is the societal impact positive or negative of these AI robots? We won't discuss it because I know I have about 30 seconds left, but reframing the question again with students that you can take this in different levels. I have had a student argue to me that Terminator was a good thing. So there's obviously a lot of hot topics that could go around there. But in any case, that is my quick 10-minute spiel. Again, all those resources, curricular elements, activities, all that good stuff are on Google Drive. You're also free to reach out to me at any point. We do these activities as a part of STEM on site as well to do AI in classrooms. So if you can ever help, feel free to hit me up.
Thank you so much, Liz. Remove your spotlight. I know that we're about to talk, and I'll hand it over to Laura, but we're about to talk about our summer pre-internship program, and Liz came in and provided us a session on these 5 big ideas, and it's such an important foundation and gives such a great context and content to dissect the ethical implications, the overall societal impacts of this new technology, and really made it accessible for all students to understand how important it is to dig deeper than just like, oh, this thing of course is gonna like work and it's gonna provide society a bunch of value. So appreciate you. So Laura, you're muted, by the way.
Okay, are you able to see my screen now that Joe taught me how to make it bigger?
You are all good.
Okay, well, I just really want to give a huge shout out to Joe and Matt. So Joe is our partner in developing the Milwaukee Tech Talent Accelerator. And I put the website out there. I don't know what we would do without the energy and enthusiasm and excitement and passion for students that Joe has and the rest of his team. I also want to do a really big shout out to Matt. He's acting as our curriculum director. We wanted to make sure that we were rooted in teaching and learning at a higher ed level when we developed this program. And so I just want to make sure that I give adequate kudos for all of their efforts, their collective efforts to make this program work. I'm just going to go over a couple of background. The Milwaukee Tech Talent Accelerator has actually 3 major components or pillars. One is on the student side, which is the pre-internship piece, which is what we're going to be talking about. The second one was reaching all of you with this information, because without you, we can't reach students effectively. And so we really want to make sure that you understand how all of these pieces fit together, and to encourage you to reach out and get involved and help to inform our efforts, because we can only get better together. And then the third thing that's happening is on September 14th. And so we're doing a Tech Career Expo. It's going to be done in conjunction with Summerfest Tech. Summerfest Tech is a celebration of technology in the Milwaukee region. It is held on September 8th. This year is going to be a hybrid event. Students who go to Summerfest Tech will get a free ticket to go to Summerfest in person, which is sort of fun. And then we take a deeper dive on the 14th with a virtual event using Booth Central to sort of allow our our community members and our members of the coalition to be able to share their journey with students. And so the target audience will be college students, some high school students, and then also our adult learners who are looking to reskill into tech. And so that's on September 14th. And then on the 17th, just to make note, any student who comes to Summerfest grounds with their spirit wear, talking about how they're just so excited to be at UWM or Marquette or MSOE or MATC or any of our higher eds. If they're wearing that, they get a free ticket to get or free entrance into the Summerfest as well. So that is the three main components of our program this summer. This is a lot of words I'm not going to go over. I'm going to leave this up though in the background while Joe and Matt sort of chime in on the experience that the students are having. Before I do that, I did want to look at this though really quickly, just to let you know how big the program was. We have 40 colleges represented from the applications, and that's pretty exciting. We have 29 mentors that are representing 10 local companies. We had 5 of our coalition members actually sit on the planning team and design the overarching goals for the program. And then in terms of diversity, I just thought I would cover this as well. Joe put this together for us. We have 56% of the students that are enrolled in the program are female, 65 are people of color, 82% at college level, 18% at high school, and 42% first generation students. So we definitely have exceeded our goal for the coalition to make sure that we were reaching students. It does take more effort to do that, but many of you on the call were instrumental in making sure that we reached students with this invitation to participate, and the coalition generously sponsored their involvement in the program with a scholarship. So we just thank you so much for that. With that, I'm going to stop here and let Matt and Joe sort of tag team on what you want to cover.
Joe, you go ahead first.
Excellent, thank you, Matt. And folks, when this program runs on Wednesdays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., I think if anything, our work is most rewarding when we can also be entertained. And so Laura will often send me like a text message like that was hilarious, because Matt and I will just like go back and forth. We kind of treat it like the Joe and Matt show. So it is a little bit fun, but here on the screen we see some details as to how the program is structured, just to give a little bit of like a high level as to what we're looking at here. 10 weeks overall. These students are going through the program fully virtual, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. every Wednesday. From 9 until noon, we really focus in on some of what you see here in the blue box. That's the curricular elements. I'll let Matt go into some more detail as to what this all means. But you'll kind of notice that generally we're seeing how AI is applied into different industries in the first half. In the second half of the summer, we're seeing how we can collaborate on a team and kind of do the innovation thing, the creative problem solving. If you're familiar with our organization, the Commons, a lot of what we do there, we're kind of digging in on the second half. And that's 9 until noon. So we have a lot of guest speakers coming in. We get a lot of lessons on what this technology looks like. And again, I'll let Matt talk a little bit more about how this curriculum's set up and some of the goals here. But of course, then we're also adding in this professional development, this academic career planning, this how do we set goals and meet them? How do we grow professionally, develop our skills, et cetera? So we have a number of modules that we're plugging in addition to these main themes here that help students explore a lot of this. And so it might be anything ranging from getting your LinkedIn set up to how do we network effectively, to how are we going to work effectively together on a team and prepare for that type of success. So a lot of reflection that goes along with that, and it makes for a really robust experience. To really kick it up a notch, and this has been a very unique component, one that I feel is especially valuable for everybody involved. Laura had mentioned those 29 mentors that are involved from 12 o'clock until 2 p.m. So there's a 2-hour chunk of time that we have what we call home team time, where there's a group of students as well as 2 mentors from local companies that take a set of reflection questions that Matt and I put together, and they have a deep dive conversation with these students. And what we, just as like a fun story and kind of some trends that we have seen. First session, the mentors were like, okay, that was a little awkward, right? Like, who, are we teaching again? Or, are students supposed to be like driving all of this? Like, we're feeling it all out, right? By the second week, they're like, okay, this is running a lot smoother. We have this rapport built up. The students, are teaching us as much as we're trying to offer additional stories and context for things. And then now by the midpoint of this program, it's like taking on a life of its own. And so we get requests from students, from mentors, like how to make this thing even cooler, like little things to toss in there. We've got mentors that are offering like book recommendations and videos to watch and like news articles that are coming out. Someone just this morning posted how AI is being used in our local park systems. So like just cool stuff happening with all of that. I will have one last plug. August 11th, you see it, Student Showcase on the website that I posted in the chat. You're all able to register for our Student Showcase. It'll be a great example of what the student teams have been working on, but then also as individuals, how these students have been growing. So I highly encourage you to join us for that, as well as any other students or network partners that you would want to see be involved in this and just witness. I think it's going to be a great time. So I'll put in a plug for that and hand it over to Matt to talk a little bit about what students are learning.
Thank you, Joe. How's my audio? Good?
It's great.
Okay. First, let me thank Joe and Laura. It's been fantastic to work with you guys. When Laura extended me the opportunity to be the curriculum director, I jumped because I thought this program was so important. And rather than talk about diversity and equity, I want to be a part of something that's trying to move the needle on it. So that was personally very important to me, especially coming from UWM and the Moonshot for Equity. So a little bit about the program. We don't assume that the students have any background in this. And in fact, what we're trying to communicate to them on a weekly basis is that data is everywhere, and you're going to be involved with it in a whole bunch of different disciplines: marketing, architecture, business, engineering, information studies. So you need to have some level of expertise associated with it. So we don't assume that they know anything. We are basically just providing a primer or foundation for it. And furthermore, we're emphasizing that it's really a team effort. And one of the best things that I've seen come out of the program is that we brought in a lot of industry mentors from the various coalition partners, talking about how they're using AI, how they're using data, and they continue to reinforce week in, week out about how this is a team effort, how it's not just coding, how they need people from humanities, how they need people that can be storytellers, how they can be people that have all these different hats. So what I sincerely hope and what I believe is happening is we are acting as a lighthouse for students to now think about their respective careers and what roles they might have. And secondary to that, we're having them do a professional modular and a technical modular in LinkedIn and Microsoft Learning. And we want to reinforce, I see Laura bobbing her head there. We want to reinforce that you are going to be lifetime learners, okay? And once you finish your credential, whether it's your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, your associate, that is not the end of learning, that is the beginning of learning. So I think all of that is being packaged quite nicely together. And not that you want a deeper dive, but we're trying to touch a lot of industries like manufacturing, health, life and society, and those things. So I think it's been a privilege to be a part of it. I love the energy every Wednesday. I love the feedback and the interaction that we're getting from students. So I will end my comments on that one.
Awesome. Laura, is there anything that we missed?
No, I think definitely the invitation of the Student Showcase. We really would love it if everybody that participated or took an interest in this in-service was able to come. One, just to see what the students learn and what they're able to do. Whether it's at, whether you're at the K-12 or higher education level, we have high schoolers in these teams. They've been integrated in with the college students. We did that last year with great success. I think the other thing that Joe and I really wanted to prove last year was that you could actually do a program like this online and not miss a beat. And as much as we love all these students to be together in person, and I'd love to be able to give them a t-shirt or something, we have yet to be in person, but they're learning a lot. The one-on-one mentorship with those small home teams has been a critical success factor. And I know that the mentors appreciate the ability to give back in that way as well. So we're really excited about all that. Again, all these slides will be available. Let me just make sure you guys can see in the Google Drive that you'll get following today's event, so that you can look at those in more detail. I know we're going quick. The only other thing I want to bring up really quick, because I think I have like 3 minutes. Is that right, Joe?
You're correct. Yeah. As
long as I just have a moment, I am going to just foreshadow that there was a national convening for data science and AI education last week. It was a 2-day event. What I think is compelling is that it was convened by CS for All. CS for All, a lot of you, we've heard a lot about them. Many of you think of them as a K-12 program. The fact that they're pulling together researchers from across the country who are really focused on data science and AI education was compelling. I was honored to be able to be part of that, just because of some work that I'm doing with Carnegie Mellon on the AI for K-12 piece. But I just wanted to give you some high level themes. Again, these will be in the Google Drive, but because I just have a minute, I'm going to cover them really quickly. We've talked about all of these, and all of these align to what we're doing in the summer program as well. This math education piece, we've talked about relevance. We've talked about the fact that it has not been refreshed in a really long time. It hasn't had an interdisciplinary approach. I'm really excited. I was really excited to see that DPI is looking at that, because I think that was something that we've heard a lot. STEM education, we've talked about the combination of these disciplines. I just don't think kids are feeling STEM the way STEM was meant to be. STEM is supposed to be interdisciplinary across those different curricular areas, and there has to be a why. They have to know what problems they're going to be solving, and they need to be asked not only could we do this, but should we do this? And that's where we get into the ethics and bias and those kind of conversations that we've been talking about. We've also know that critical skill sets are not coming from any one discipline through the higher education system. It is a combination of disciplines. So you've heard people talk today about the humanities and the importance of the combination of technical skills and humanities. It's not just one program anymore. And I think that's what we're hearing nationally, is that this purple unicorn, it's the graduate that doesn't exist. It's why our entry-level positions are not necessarily, there's more entry-level STEM graduates than there are even jobs, because they're not producing that interdisciplinary skill set that they're looking for. And so our employers are going to mid-level talent for that. And they're leaving that entry-level talent pool under leveraged, which is a problem for all of us. At the higher education level, these are 4 just basic points. They're realizing that if they are not ahead of this, that there's pretty high stakes. The collaboration is key because everybody's learning together. And then the last thing would be, again, and I made this point before, public policy matters. And the messaging from our state leadership matters, as well as from our national government. So I think the public policy matters, funding matters, messaging matters. So I'll leave it there and stop sharing my screen. And I think that now we're going to turn it over to Phyllis.
Yes, we are. Phyllis, I'm going to spotlight you for everyone. There you are.
Great, thank you. Let me see if I can pull up my screen here.
Looking good.
Okay, so yeah, thank you. After I heard about this this offering this summer, and again, thanks Matt, Joe, Laura, and others that put it together, I thought it was such a great opportunity for here to start jumping in and providing more accessible, more affordable entrees to higher education or post-secondary education in a more incremental way and a more achievable way. And so HERA, the Higher Education Regional Alliance, really wants to get into micro-credentialing. And so that's a way to do it. It's incremental learning and with micro-credentialing, we could actually use that as a way to advance lifelong learning and with employers as well. So here is about three years now in terms of an organization in itself. And as I mentioned, they were talking about doing micro-credentialing. And so when I heard about this, I thought, oh, let's jump on this. And I'm a part of HERA. And as you just talked about, higher ed is kind of steeped in this traditional lockstep sort of fashion of education. And we really need to become more nimble. And this is the badging and this is the micro-credentialing. And so with just talking about how industry should get involved and how higher ed should get involved and how we identify those skill sets together, let's do this together. And they did this perfect program this summer that really emulated that. So what a badge really is it's really using digital technologies to represent competencies and other various learning achievements. So they're electronic. So what they are is they will show, if you click on it, they'll show a metadata. So behind it, it'll tell you everything that the student had learned in terms of the competencies. And we talk about competencies in terms of KSAs, knowledge, skills, and abilities. So you know something, you develop a skill and you apply it. And that's basically what a badge does. You click on the badge and, oops, this is not advancing. Not able to advance my slide here. I don't know. There we go. Okay. So with the competencies, you can actually click on the badge, open it up, and it says, this is where they learned it. This is who issued it. This is what they've been able to acquire in terms of skills. Really important, not only to the learner, but to the employer. So now you have a badge that you know what it's all about. Real quickly, what is HERA? HERA is the Higher Education Regional Alliance. We call it HERA. They have one big goal, and that is to reduce the skills gap. Skills and talent gap. So fits perfectly in this area, right? So we're trying to reduce the skill gap. We're trying to build this area. And so we need to do this for our M7, our 7-county region here in terms of increasing employment rates and the number of students going to post-secondary education. So these are all the folks that are involved in the Higher Education Regional Alliance. Again, it was formed about 3 years ago. Aims at looking at challenges that we have in employment and in skills in our Southeast Wisconsin region here. It is the first of its kind partnership that really leverages resources and really coordinates a team. This is a partnership between industry, academia, and community-based organizations. Right now, there's 18 of public and private institutions that have come together, 2-year, 4-year universities, along with 9 economic development and community organizations. And they've all come together, and together this represents 96% of our post-secondary student enrollment. So we're talking 157,000 students this represents or this influences. So it's a significant organization with a lot of influence. And they really have 3 goals. One of them is to get students through college completion. And so they have a number of strategies that they are working together on interinstitutionally for this to happen. So the first one being college completion, M7. So I'm talking about there's 23 higher eds or post-secondary education institutions, and we're looking at 18 of them here. We're doing it through a number of means of the M7 helping us with strategies around best practices to really ensure that we have an educated workforce in Southeast Wisconsin. The second one is around institutional programs. So we know that higher ed needs to evolve its curriculum, evolve its program. We're starting to think about, well, how can we add some easier ways to entrees to get students into the 4-year, 2-year, any type of post-secondary education. And so micro-credentialing has become a way or a means of doing that in a more achievable way. And so one of those is a micro-credential could be considered a badge. And so that's what we're talking about today is the badge. But really higher education is really talking about innovation. They need to change and they know it. The 4 years, 6 years is just not affordable, achievable for many, or at least they don't think it is, until we can break it down into smaller components and incrementalize the learning and deliver it in different ways that's achievable for different populations and different learners. And those learners, by the way, are not just the 18-year-olds. We're talking about learners, lifelong learners. So these are folks that are employees within their own companies and industries. And we talk a lot about upskilling or reskilling. Those are also students and learners that are eligible for any type of these micro-credential or badges. So with this, a lot of times what the higher ed institutions don't do is, consistently accept all program credits for all students wanting to continue in their education pathways. So again, badges can be brought in and they can be accepted upon the discretion of each of the higher ed institutions on how they could interpret those as possibly a pathway or a credit or some type of a credential that leads towards one of the degrees that's perhaps within their higher ed program. They're accessible, again, based upon the talents and the needs of the learner. And then the third area here for goals is really with employers. We need to connect employers and get employers involved in higher education. And so co-teaching together, getting them more involved is really helping us build our workforce of the future. So with this one, we better connect with employers and with talent coming into the colleges. And that could be around knowing what each other's doing, internships, apprenticeships, and getting them actually involved in work-based learning opportunities. So the badge itself, what we talked about in terms of creating this badge is what are the expectations? Well, a learner going through this program this summer would successfully complete the program. And they would receive a link to the badge. Right now, we're designing the badge to have a brand for it. It's co-branded with the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition and the Higher Education Regional Alliance. And this is the first badge of many to come, but we've recognized that this is, one, an opportunity, two, a high demand area. And so they decided to really tackle this one first. This will be the first, I believe, and I know that in a series of clusters of badges that are going to build upon this. But this program this summer, as you heard, is pretty foundational to AI and data. And so we could go in many directions and offshoots with this, but this is the first HERA badge that we have. And so the value then of this, remember, if you could click on the badge, there's metadata behind it. So it's digitally confirmed that this learner has acquired this knowledge, the skills, and the abilities in foundations of AI or ethics and in data. So whatever was previously described is what's going to be in this metadata behind the badge. And of course, it's verifiable with open badge standards. And what that just means is there's a means of have transferability, and they look like and act like a lot of the other badges. What's really important to the learner, though, is the ability to make visible their learning. And with that is social media is a big medium for doing that, right? So Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, you can take this badge and you can put it in any of these social media, on any of the social media. And particularly, again, as we talked with employers, you could put it on your resume. They can open it and say, I wonder what this says. I wonder what they learned. And it gives you some visible means of learning. And it's short-term learning. It's affordable, and certainly with this summer, it's amazing the opportunity that students have to learn. But even going towards the future, these badges are smaller portions of learning, and again, a lot of times it's more convenient for the learner. And the other reason here, the value is it's an on-ramp for advanced education. So I could take this badge. What we're intending to do is take this badge, put another badge to it, maybe advance the knowledge and skills and abilities that have been learned here, take it up another level or advance that. And now it's 2 badges, 3, or it could become a cluster or a longer series or a pathway. But eventually what it does is then it leads towards a certificate, certification, industry recognized credential, all those things that we've been talking about today. And so each institution, Higher Education Regional Alliance institution, is going to be able to take this badge and take a look at it and say, you know what, it fits in my curriculum really well here. And so we're going to give you a credit for it because we know that this is what you have acquired and you've verified it and you've learned it. So this right now we're in the middle of, and I can show you just a couple of right now, just designs. We haven't finalized the design of the badge yet. And it might not be either of these, but this is what the badge looks like itself. And what it'll have is Higher Education Regional Alliance on it, and then Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition, I think we're going to put on it. But there are future badges to come. They all look like that. They could be sequenced and clustered, stackable towards a degree. So that's what it's going to look like. But again, I want to just say a huge shout out and thank you to Matt Friedel and to Joe and to Laura and to others that have really contributed to this. It's the first of more to come. And what I think this has done is really incited and excited, I think, of the Higher Education Regional Alliance institutions to think differently and to think about education in a different way that's more affordable, achievable, and successful for all learners. And I'll end it with that.
Thank you. Joe, I think we have one last thing. If you want, we can stop sharing Phyllis's screen. And do you want to introduce the survey that we're going to be taking? We have a few things we can talk about while people are taking that, but.
Yeah. So folks, I'm going to post a link in the chat here. We crushed it on the timing for things. We put together an action-packed day, kept it very, very fast-paced, and want to get some thoughts from you all. We know that we didn't talk about everything. Laura, this might be some of the context that you're going to give. We know that we didn't talk about everything out there, but we definitely were able to showcase some really incredible work going on in the area. I hope that everyone here was able to make some new connections, learn a little bit more, and see the path forward in our region. So the survey that's linked in the chat is, it's a nice short one. We would love your thoughts and feedback on things. Laura, I know that you have a little bit more context to give.
Yeah, I think a lot of surveys after an event is, hey, how did we do? And that's all fine. That's not really what this is about. This is about us trying to figure out what information is most valuable. What did we miss? Because we know it was a really crazy 4 hours of a lot of information. But what do you want us to dive in on next? What would be the most useful? Because you're our stakeholders and you're our influencers. And so I would like to better understand what we could be doing locally, regionally, and as part of supporting Janice's efforts at the state level. What is the most valuable? And so that's the reason for the survey. So if you end up having to leave for a 3 o'clock and you need some transition time, I will be sending out this survey link later, but I do think if you have the time right now, this would be a really great time while it's fresh in your mind to take it. That's why we left time during the meeting to be able to do that. While you're taking it, I wanted to just give you, I want to give the opportunity for anybody that has an upcoming event to be able to share with the group something that ties into what we're talking about today. Now, in terms of the coalition, I've told you about the Tech Career Expo. That is a big deal. So September 14th, save the date. What we need from everyone on the call is your ability to reach students that we can't reach. We will put it on Handshake, but I know that MASIC and HERA and others, and even the academic liaisons that the Commons has, we could really use your help on getting the word out. It's open to all college students in the region, not just the students that are going through the program this summer. It's anybody who wants to come. And I know that our employers are really excited about the content that they're pulling together for the students. So that's something I could really use your help on. In addition to that, many of you know that we are now in the 4th year of a regional initiative that we put on during Computer Science Week. The first 2 years it was sponsored by Northwestern Mutual. Last year it was sponsored by the Milwaukee Tech Coalition. That effort is a regional effort to bring together industry, education at the K-12 and higher ed level. And it is meant not just to teach an hour of code, even though that's what it's really rooted in, is the National Hour of Code movement. It is not just about hour of code. For many districts, that's exactly the right thing to do, is to teach an hour of code using code.org, and that's what most people do. But we also want to make sure that we are supporting all the themes that you heard today: pathways, academic and career planning, technological literacy, guiding students to opportunities that they may never have thought of. And so we really want to make sure that this year's event, this week-long experience, involves all of you, but then also is exactly the right thing for you and your students and the people that you serve. So I'd love to be able to get your input on how to make that the most vibrant experience we can. That's going to be December, I think it's 6th through the 12th. It's the 2nd week of December is Computer Science Week, and that's when we'll be celebrating that. And we hope to include data and AI and all the things that we have in the past, and cyber as well. Thomas, I don't know if you're still on. I know that there is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which is in October. And so I know that there's a recognition of that we hope to be able to help with as well. Is there anybody that has another event coming up between now and the end of the year that you really want to be able to tell us about while people are finishing their survey?
Laura, I would make a quick plug for System Now coming up October 27th. We are waiting with bated breath and excited to be back in person at the ICC with a full lineup of breakouts, national level speakers, and we hope folks can join us. Thanks.
Absolutely. Are you still taking session proposals?
We are, yes, through the weekend, so there's still time.
Anyone else have something to share? Guys are quiet. Well, everybody's probably typing, so that's good. So Joe, if we don't have anyone that has any other events that they want to share, I think what I'd suggest is maybe we put on the music and let them finish their surveys and let everybody get back to their day. But without any other hesitance, I want to make sure that I share with all of you a sincere appreciation for giving up your day to talk about these important topics and to help inform our efforts regionally and at the state level to help all of you be part of this. So thank you, thank you.